Hello and welcome to the LRM podcast, sponsored by Adrian Flux Insurance. I'm Martin Dominy.
And I'm Steve Miller.
And today we're joined by James from Land Rovers of London. How are you getting on, James?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Not at all, thank you. I know this has been a long time coming, but we finally managed to make things work, and I'm really excited to have you on as a guest. So tell us a little bit about how you've got Land Rovers of London. Is obviously huge. It's grown into quite a beast, really, both on Instagram and in person through your meet. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, how did you actually get into Land Rovers?
Yeah, so my current car, which is my day driver, is a TD590, which I've had for best part of 13, 14 years now. Prior to that, it wasn't a Land Rover, it was a Vauxhall Corsa. And I remember sitting down with my dad, sort of looking through, I think it was Car Magazine or something like that, and sort of looking through an article, and we sort of thinking, oh, I quite like these Land Rovers. And he's a man who's into sort of Porsches and 911s, and I never thought he'd turn around and say, actually, you know what, I like a Defender too. So saved up a bit of money. I was thinking, if I can find a nice one, I'll see what they're saying. Sort of searched for quite a while, and eventually we sort of went on Auto Trader, as you do, found this nice 90 TD5 down in Winchester. I hadn't viewed any of them before that, and I went down with him to have a look at this car, and this was one owner from new. It'd done about 70 or 80,000 miles at the time, so it's 2005. And the guy who owned it is the kind of guy you want to buy a car from. Like, he kept every single receipt, every single sort of receipt for any sort of work that'd been done to the car. And yeah, we did a deal there and then, and haven't looked back since. So yeah, had that car, and then sort of come 2015, living in London, you always see supercars, and I was always following a lot of the guys on social media, sort of, I don't know if you're familiar with like Supercars of London and See Through Glass, and so those sort of influencers, and I was sort of following those quite a lot back in the day. So I just thought, well, maybe I'll do a fun take on that and do Land Rovers London, because I mean every other car in London is a Range Rover essentially. And you do see the odd you certainly, before ULEZ came into play, you used to see quite a lot of Defenders. So I just started taking photos of Defenders and nice ones that I saw in London, and yeah, it grew from there. And lo and behold, there was an appetite for people just like me who enjoy looking at Defenders, and it sort of started sort of July 2015 is when I set up the page. So yeah, coming up to 11 years since it started.
Wow, seriously, I didn't realise you've been doing it quite that long. That's really eye-opening. I thought it was a much more recent thing, but yeah, I mean, kudos to you, because it's a really, really cool page. If you've not seen it before, obviously on Instagram, I guess, is your main base for content. At Land Rovers of London is the account. But yeah, it's for someone who doesn't spend a huge amount of time in the capital, it's great to see that the enthusiasm is there, where it is in a city. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think the page has certainly taken off in the last sort of 3 to 4 years in terms of it growing into more of a community. All it was just a page for me sharing and showing what I like about Defenders and what I see in terms of the cars in London. I did my first event at the Ace Cafe, which was in 2016, so 10 years ago, which was really well attended. Had some cars, some guy drove his Series 2A all the way from Switzerland just to come to the Ace Cafe, and yeah, that was the first ever event I did, and there was a bit of a sort of pause between doing sort of meetups and things like that. But that's sort of become more of the focus over the last few years, and really building a community from that.
Yeah, I mean, you've certainly done that. It's you actually did a piece for Land Rover Life. It was sort of this time last year from the post-Christmas meetup, which was really cool. Like some of the photography showing the streets. Was that in the same place as this year's one around Belgravia?
Yeah, Belgrave Square. It's sort of become the unofficial HQ for our meets, and yeah, it's weird because you've got the sort of core Land Rover enthusiasts who would think, hell on earth would be driving a Land Rover in central London. Like, it's so out of place for a lot of people. But I think the novelty for a lot of people is just driving their car in a location where it's not necessarily seen. And I remember going through London with my car. You go down Sloane Street, and you got all these spotters, enthusiasts who are looking out for supercars and things like that. But yet, a Defender would still turn heads and still get a lot of interest from a lot of people, and that's what was sort of was what I think drives a lot of people to come to London and take it out of its natural habitat and sort of show it parts of the country that it wouldn't normally see.
Oh, I totally get it. It's something I haven't, by my own admission, unfortunately, I haven't actually made it to a Land Rovers of London meet yet, but it's definitely on my list. And certainly around the Christmas meetups, as people really go to town with the decorations, and that it becomes a whole. It's so, as you've said, so vibrant and different to what people are used to doing with Land Rovers, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the sort of buy-in and the effort that people go to, especially for the Christmas one. We did the first Christmas one was 2023. And we had about 100 cars turn up, which in itself, is quite a turnout. Certainly in central London. Then 2024, we did it in aid of charity. So we don't charge people to turn up to these events. They're all community led. They're all for everybody to enjoy. And that's what it's always been about. It's been about the community. It's never been about sort of me being a face of the brand. It's all about sort of sharing that same passion which everyone else has. So 2024 we had about 300 cars, which I think was borderline sort of getting to the point where do we need to get an official event space? And then I didn't actually get around to doing anything in terms of actually finding an event space for 2025. So just gone. And yeah, that was just insane. There's a really cool aerial shot of basically all these cars parked on four sides of the square, sort of 3 or 4 cars deep. And then you went on to Google Maps or whatever, and then you just see the whole square is red, and there's just no way people can get around. And last year there was this Waitrose delivery driver who was trying to do his drop off, and he was like, well, there's no way I can get through. I'm stuck here for forever. So he literally just turned his lorry off, got out, and started looking around the cars. He's like, well, nothing else I can do. I might as well make the most of it. So yeah, I think we had over 450 cars turn up to the meet last year. But yeah, the effort that people go to in terms of decorating the cars is immense. Like no two cars are the same. You get people who just put sort of tinsel on it, and that's great. But then some of the efforts, like an entire gingerbread house on the back of the car, is amazing.
I could see things like this where each year people want to better it than they did last year, and it becomes competitive.
Oh yeah,
And before you know it, I mean, where's a contingency? Where do you get to 500 cars and then that's it, or how are you going to cap it? If this gets really, really,
yeah, I think
more.
I mean, after seeing the event last year, I always sort of adopted the approach of, and perhaps rightly or wrongly, it was always sort of, it's easier to beg for forgiveness than for permission. And it's always sort of been organized chaos. So I thought, well, if you build it, they will come. And you give people a time and a place, and a date, and they will turn up to it. And yeah, when we had the event last year, you got so many, no one could physically drive around the square. It was just absolute gridlock. And then, because Belgrave Square is full of all these embassies, you've got sort of armed police standing outside these embassies, and they're just there like, yeah, pretty cool. I like it. And they know that Land Rover owners aren't here to cause trouble. They're just enjoying themselves. And they're like, yeah, best you try and keep it moving. But all the guys are like, oh no, it's just a traffic jam. That's what it is. It just happens to be a load of Land Rovers all in the same location. It's more of a coincidence than anything. But they had no issues with it. They just sort of said just make sure that they can keep things moving sensibly.
That was my next question. Actually, I wasn't sure if you had to really like plan and do, or alert authorities and stuff like that, or if you did just sort of play it by ear and see how it pans out. So to hear that they're all quite so cool with it is brilliant.
Yeah, I think going forward, the scale of the event, and obviously for the event this year, so it's always the sort of the first Sunday of December is when we like to hold it. But yeah, we're certainly looking to plans for having more of a dedicated event space, so people can still get that fixer coming into London, but without having the stress of feeling like they're going to be ushered away by the authorities. So yeah, there's plans for that.
Very good. So talk to us a little bit about, event aside, what is it actually like owning a Land Rover in London? Are there challenges? Obviously, ULEZ is a thing.
Yeah, ULEZ is a thing. I mean, I street park it because I as a lot of Land Rover owners, they're obsessed with their car, and it's your pride and joy. And I am precious to an extent, but at the same time, I appreciate that if someone's going to scratch it, I can still get it repaired. My main focus is on just security. That's always been my main focus. So there's always that concern because they're so easy to steal, and people will always try and do what they can. But yeah, I mean, I street park it. I've done that for as long as I've had the car. I went to university in Oxford, and I street parked it there. And yeah, so it's sort of been something I've used to. But I put a removable steering wheel on there, pedal lock. It's got a tracker, all sorts of things. But yeah, that's the main thing. It just sort of gives you the peace of mind and knowing that it's just going to make it harder to steal. But yeah, I don't bother about ULEZ too much because I just don't drive it during the week.
Right.
And go if I need to go to friends or whatever. I'd far rather pay the £12.50 ULEZ than have to get on a train, which would take twice the time. And yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You still see quite a few Land Rovers Defenders in London. Obviously, other people are still happy to pay ULEZ.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you say, if you're just not occasional use, but if you're using it once a week, that really isn't a huge amount on top of your diesel and all the other costs that come with running a vehicle anyway, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, fair play. And I mean, you've got the Optimil removable steering lock on yours, haven't you? And it is a big, really, one of the most obvious sort of deterrents, I guess, for thieves is if the steering wheel's not there and it's capped off. They're a great bit of kit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They're really well made. Yeah, it's just a good visual deterrent. One of the best tips I had from a friend of mine was he bought, I think it was like a £2 light off eBay or Amazon, and all he did was he put it on the steering column, and it's just a red light, and it just flashes every now and then. It doesn't do anything. It's just a little red light, almost like it's got an alarm on it. His car didn't have central locking, so that's why he bought it. But he was like, I put this tiny little red light which flashes every sort of 10 seconds or so, and it cost him £2. So anyone looking in will sort of see this little red light flashing, which I thought was a quite a good little tip.
I think anything that's a deterrent and then layering up security. I mean, I know we're in sort of Lincolnshire, and Land Rovers do get stolen from around here, probably just as much as they do in London. But layering up security does allow you to sleep at night, and I think that's the key to it.
You can never do too much.
No. It's a shame that we're in that situation in the first place, but here we are.
Yeah, too right.
You can't not own the car that you want because of the likelihood, somebody might try and have it away.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, exactly. And friends of mine in Southwest London, they've had their cars stolen. They've sort of had the keyless entry, and you see the sort of the footage of how they do it, and they do it so quickly. These guys, and it's so frustrating because you just want to enjoy your car. You want to have it parked where you can leave it comfortably and not feel like you're going to be penalised for having something which you enjoy. I mean, and the value of it isn't the issue. I mean, my car's done now 250,000 miles, so the joke would be on the thief when they get into the car and realise it's not actually a low mileage car. I mean, it looks in good condition, but yeah, they'll be like, oh bugger, gone through it. It's 250,000 miles, but that's beside the point, I guess. But yeah, I think, like you say, having those visual deterrents like the optional steering lock is really good.
So now that you've owned your Defender for so long, is it a car for life? Can you ever imagine getting rid of it, or is it going to be with you till your days are up?
Yeah, I can never see myself selling it. It's something which sort of it's opened so many doors for me, not just in terms of the community that I've built, but professionally as well. And just sort of meeting people along the way, just sort of through communities. Like I've made so many good friends through the community that sort of come along. And I think had I not had this car, I don't think any of that would have happened. And you just sort of realise how enthusiastic and how genuine and how lovely everybody is who sort of shares in the same passion. So yeah, I definitely don't think I'll look to sell the car anytime soon.
Good to hear.
Yeah, it's nice that Land Rovers do that, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's those conversation starters.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think there's another community in the automotive world that's quite as tight knit and quite as well-meaning as the Land Rover community. I think that's hard to beat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my day-to-day job, so I work for a company called Collecting Cars, so online auction place, and
Right.
Defenders are one of the most popular cars that we sell. And yeah, I mean, I can talk to sellers for hours about their cars that they're looking to sell. And there's always Land Rovers on the site. I think we've got quite a nice low mileage Heritage 110 on the site. But yeah, like you say, I think there isn't a community out there that really sort of has the same sort of passion. There's sort of other enthusiasts like Ford communities, but I never feel like with Land Rover owners, they want to try and one up each other. They're just sort of like appreciative of what the other person's got. If you got the sort of the fast Fords and people like that, they may think, oh well, my car's lower mileage and my car's got the optional leather interior or whatever. They're just sort of Land Rover owners just sort of share the same sort of thing, I guess.
Definitely. It's all so all-encompassing. We often say, don't we,
Yeah.
like we had a chap email in and we featured on last week's podcast who runs adventures up to like Norway and far-flung the Arctic Circle in the latest generation, so Evokes and Velars and Defenders and things like that. And there's so many different sort of splintered off groups, but everyone is in it for the same reason, which is so encouraging and so good to see. So you said your Defender's got quite a few miles on it. Have you done any long trips in it? Have you contributed to those 250,000 miles in a big way?
Yeah. So when I bought it, it was about 70 or 80,000 miles.
Wow.
And yeah, so just sort of a lot of that would have been some driving to and from university in Oxford and sort of in and out of London. Went up to Scotland in it, down to Cornwall. So getting married in May this year. So that's going to be a key feature of the wedding is having sort of Land Rovers to sort of take guests to and from the sort of church to the receptions. That's a must. But I suppose the biggest trip, I haven't done many. France, Europe, and things like that. Went to the Netherlands with some friends a few years ago, and yeah, so it's got the 4 seats in the back, and we sort of piled into that, and you sort of go to the Eurotunnel, and you get the customs check, and they sort of say, "Oh, passports," and you got 2 in the front, and then they slide the windows back, and you suddenly see 4 faces poking out of the the side windows, and they're like, "Okay, cool, enjoy your trip." But yeah, it's that's sort of probably the longest journey that I've done in the car was sort of across Europe. But yeah, haven't done anything like that recently. So maybe something to do this year is a long journey if the car plays ball, which it has been for the last 12 months.
We're proud to partner with Adrian Flux, the UK's largest specialist motor insurance broker. They can cover all sorts of Land Rovers in the UK, EU and further afield. So whether you're planning a trip to Europe or you're exploring new areas of the UK, call them directly on 0344 728 0417 for a quote, or search Adrian Flux Land Rover Insurance for more information.
Excellent. I was going to say that, that must have been pretty snug for your backseat passengers. A lot of knee bashing going on.
Yeah, exactly. You sort of have to interlock your legs and sort of
Where
make sure the luggage was on the roof, and some of it was just on their laps. So
yes, so
yeah,
No, fair play.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good vintage. You got an excellent choice, really. I think of Defender. A late TD5 is up there with the best of them, I would say.
and the best engine, of course.
Well,
That's where arguably.
that's up for debate, Steve.
I'm certainly biased, and a friend of mine, he bought a 2.4 Puma a couple of years ago, and yeah, he owns the 2.4 Puma, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I'm very much biased of the TD5 is the number one. But yeah, I think it's such a good engine. It sounds great, and so easy to sort of get good performance out of it. But I didn't really know a huge amount of Defenders when I bought it. Yeah, things like sort of excess and trim levels weren't something that I was aware of necessarily. So to sort of get this, to buy this one at the right sort of time was a bit of luck as well. And yeah, it was really nice condition.
It's interesting going back to your point when you said, about the guy that you bought the Land Rover from. It was the kind of guy that you wanted to buy from. And we were on last week's podcast, which in fact we only recorded yesterday.
Don't give all our secrets
Yeah,
away.
don't give the secrets away. But we recorded one yesterday, and we spoke about we were talking about Discovery 2s, weren't we? And,
Yeah.
and I said, it's quite a judgmental thing to say, but you almost look at the person selling it as much as the vehicle. And when they proudly present all the receipts and everything, it just gives you that sense of
Reassurance.
reassurance that you're buying the right thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I went to his house, and you sort of go into his house, and all the shoes were perfectly aligned, and all and I was just like, okay, he's a very meticulous man. And I try and still keep in contact with him to this day, and sort of say, this is the car. It's still on the roads, and sending him some photos every now and then. But I was like, oh, why are you selling it? He's like, oh, well, I've bought I'm going to buy a new one. I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then he was like, I'm going to get a few bits done to the car, so it'll be ready next week for you to come and collect. Turned up a week later, and yeah, he'd already bought a new one. So he was a man of his word.
Wow, that's nice. Yeah,
You must see quite a bit of that in collecting cars is quite a sort of high-end car marketplace, I suppose, but you must get a sort of feel for owners who are selling stuff. Is that part of your job?
Yeah, so I deal directly with sellers on a daily basis, and yeah, you get a lot of enthusiasts, you get a lot of collectors, primarily people who are in it for sort of the financial gain, which is completely fair enough. Things like Heritage Defenders have been so popular, and one of the standout sales which I was a part of was a very low mileage Heritage 110, which I think was a world record price at the time, which went for about 102,000 at auction. So yeah, the guy who bought that at the time sort of made a good return on his investment, but it only had like 72 miles on the clock, and this was sort of 2023, 2024, I think, when it sold. So yeah, it was a particularly strong result.
I was going to say
you wouldn't probably get that now, would you?
proper.
Calmed a bit.
Hard to say, really, but yeah, proper collector grade cars, I suppose, like the very, very best of the best. They're always going to have a market there, I suppose, because they're not making any more, are they?
No, they're not. So here's a question for you then, James. So you'll obviously be looking at analytics with vehicle sales, I presume, and searches and how many people, what hits things are getting and prices achieved, etc., etc. Where would you put your money at the moment? Not that we've got any, but personally, but if you were to recommend a kind of on-trend JLR product then, but where would you invest? Where do you see the future?
Oh, that's a good question. Is it sort of what I would personally buy, or
Yeah,
what
because I think there's personally what you'd buy and what you'd possibly invest in or see as a future investment.
Oh, it's a good question. And I get sellers all the time asking me about that sort of question, but that's more to do with sort of Porsches and things like that. But it's never been something I've sort of looked at with Land Rovers, as much as a patch I should have done. I'm a huge fan of a Disco 4 with the VA engine, which I think was only delivered to Japan
Yes.
from memory. So yeah, I do quite like those. I have a little soft spot for them. Whether that's a good financial investment, don't hold me to that. But yeah, I think the right sort of spec and good mileage is always going to be a driving factor of any sort of age for a Defender. And what I've learned to appreciate is just sort of nice stock factory cars and how they've left the factory and they haven't been sort of mucked around with, which I am guilty of. Don't get me wrong, I've tinkered. I mean, any sort of Land Rover owner is a amateur mechanic, but you do sort of have a soft spot and appreciation for a nice, original Defender. There was one which I think we sold, which was just a 90 TD5 XS, which I think it was in Epsom Green, I think, or Tonga Green. I can't remember which one. And it was just such a nice car. It was very clean. And it sold, I think, a couple of years ago for only like £12,000. And I was like, that's such a steal. But no, yeah, I think anything which is good mileage, good service history, low owners, you can't go wrong.
Of course, we talk about investment in a monetary value, but the investment might be your happiness. You've owned your Land Rover for so many years, and you can't foresee a time without it.
Yeah.
So that investment is far greater than what you'd either paid and what you'd sell it for. Your investment in obviously seeing people, meeting people, the community. That's
Definitely.
probably
It's
greater than the money.
It's funny you mentioned the 5-litre Discovery, James. A friend of mine has one, a black one, that he bought. It had been imported from Japan, but he bought it, and underneath it is "Eat your dinner off it clean." They are so nice, freshly in. And yeah, it's horrendous on petrol, but he sleeps in his bed every night knowing that his crankshaft's not going to snap on his diesel one, and he loves driving it that much that he's just happy to put up with it. He's been to Morocco in it. He's been all over the place, and he really rates it. So I think that's a strong choice.
Yeah, no, exactly. The only other thing which I would love to buy, and it's always been on my list, is a Series 3 Stage 1 V8. That's always been on my hit list, only because I was down in Cornwall a few years ago, and there was this guy who was going up and down near Poleseth, and he had one, and he had the roof down, the windscreen, completely like a beach buggy, and he was just charging around, and I was just like, that is so fun. And he must have had a straight through exhaust, because it sounded better than any sort of supercar that you could hear. You suddenly hear it from a mile away, and then you see it coming about sort of 10 miles an hour, and it sounds a lot faster than it's actually going. But that's something I would, on a personal note, is something I would love to own.
Excellent.
I don't know where Stage 1s are with values now, because they hit like with the peak, and now they've kind of calmed down again.
I'm not sure they vary massively, because there are still projects out there. There are still very, very rough ones out there that you could potentially bring back, but they do have a lot of unique parts which are hard to find. Design, development, engineering, Brian Bush has remade a lot of the front axle bits, especially. But even so, they're not a cheap thing to keep and restore in comparison to other standard series models. But they're really, really cool. I can definitely see why you'd want a Stage 1.
Yeah,
great colours as well. Great colour palette on the Stage 1. They're proper of their time, weren't they?
Yeah, no, exactly. I forget what's that brown color. Is it
not russet? No, it's not russet.
I can't remember what it would have been on a Stage 1, but yeah, I really like Java Green. That's my favourite.
I could be wrong.
I know the brown you mean with the I can never remember the actual colour of the brown.
What colour was yours?
Well, I mean 12 years ago, about 12 12 years ago, I had found one in the field, actually, a stage 1 V8 truck cab, which was marine blue. But I was very lucky with that because the guy had actually rebuilt quite a lot of it and then parked it in a field for 12 years. Hadn't turned the wheel, but the chassis had completely rotted away. So had a re-chassis on it, but they're okay. I think I'd rather have a station wagon one of those or a soft top than I would a truck cab because it's just not very usable.
It is russet brown.
It is
right.
russet.
We were right all along.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 3.5 litre Rovers seriously strangled in the stage one because they detuned it to like 90 horsepower, so it was barely worth having over the 4-cylinder. But easily sorted out, and yeah, really cool thing. But yeah, what do you make of the sort of modern classics era? So like your Range Rover P38, L322, and Discoveries of that sort of age. Is that something you'd ever get involved in, or are you not too fussed?
Yeah, I think I mean P38s, they're so cheap these days. I think you can get them for sort of less than £5,000. But yeah, I think you'll be stuck with a bill probably 3 or 4 times that amount if you do dare to enter that sort of realm, I guess. But I never was really a fan of the L322 as such years ago, and I think a lot of people over the last sort of few years have really sort of grown to appreciate them. And guys that work in the office and things like that, they rave about them so much. And yeah, you sort of slowly warm to them as well. I think the likes of Clarkson and Harry Metcalf do a lot for the L322 community to try and sort of push that forward. And I've seen some crazy values for them as well. I went to Goodwood last year for the Festival of Speed, and I was with the team at Land Rover, and then we went to the circuit, and they had sort of their fleet of the first production Range Rover P38, L322, L405, and then the electric one. So they sort of say, pick one of these to go for a little drive around the circuit in. So I was like, I'm going to go for the L322, and they were like, notice one key feature on the back of this this car, what makes it different to everything else. I was like, well, it's got a rear grab handle on the sort of B pillar. I was like, okay, and it was like, this was the Queen's old L322, or one of, I guess. So I was like, definitely have a turn in that. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, yeah, I was going to say, of all the L322s on the planet you could have picked, that was a pretty solid choice. Yeah, they had a great display at Goodwood. I was lucky enough to go to Festival of Speed this year as well, and the actual JLR stand, the Range Rovers of every era they had laid out there was really stunning. Great to see beginnings and ends of each model next to each other. Yeah, really, really eye-opening, and they put a lot of effort into that. I think Land Rover or JLR should be really patted on the back for their presence at Festival of Speed last year. It was really, really something to be proud of.
Yeah, I think as a brand, they do better than most manufacturers in terms of leaning on their heritage and their history for what they've done. So the guys at JLR Classic as well. I'm sure you've been to the sort of warehouse where all these cars are stored as well. And I'm sure Michael Bishop.
Yeah.
At the encyclopedia for Land Rovers. So he was at Goodwood when I was there, and he was sort of telling me all about it. But yeah, I think they do really well for sort of leaning on their history and recognizing the sort of the owners who still buy into the brand.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is great. It's really good. And that, obviously, we highlighted yesterday the result that Defenders had at Dakar has really made people who own modern Land Rovers even prouder to be on board with the brand, and it's fantastic. But so I saw on your Land Rovers of London Instagram that you opened up, that you put a story on, and if anyone had any questions, did you get anything off the back of that, or was that a bit quiet?
Yeah, no, there was a few responses.
Cool.
You get the usual sort of silly comments of from people sort of saying talk about Toyotas and Jimneys. I'm like, very good, funny. But no, I wouldn't know where to start. No, it was funny enough, you mentioned the Dakar. One of the common sort of responses was talking about that Dakar win as well. I had about a handful of people sort of keen to discuss that, because I went to an event just before Christmas at the Shackleton store. I don't know if you're a clothing brand, and they were doing a sort of pre-launch for the event and talking about their partnership as well. And I was chatting with one of the guys at Defender, and I said to him, what would you classify as success for Dakar this year? And his response was, if we finish ahead of Toyota, then we'll be happy. So I think they can be extra happy for what they've achieved. But I think that, like you say, it's certainly going to do a lot for drawing enthusiasts into the new Defender ownership as well, because I think there's always been that sort of us and them kind of approach to new Defenders and the old ones.
Definitely, that you can't deny that. But as we sort of touched on last week, it's that gap is closing, and actually a lot of the people who moaned about it, a few years ago, I can't believe it's been in production for 5 years now, or coming up for 6 years. But as soon as you drive one and you understand it properly, you can't deny just what an incredible vehicle it is.
I think the off-road capabilities, and I went to I think it was the Billing Off-Road Show a few years ago, I think 2021, and at work we bought this new Defender. It was a 90 hardtop, and they have the mud run, I think it's called, where you sort of drive through the sort of swamp and things like that, and you get all these discos which have been lifted and everything, and everyone who turns up just likes to sort of go, obviously they go winching in their spare time. So I took the Collecting Cars Defender along, and I think it was the first time a new Defender had been there. So you get all these enthusiasts turning their nose up, going, "Oh, you never get over that hill, or you never get through there, and what are you doing in that? That's never gonna make it through." So I was like, "Okay, fine. Well, I'll see how we get on." And you sort of go through these obstacles with relative ease, and it was pretty impressive. And then it got to that thick mud, and I was like, "Well, I've got the brand new company car. Do I go sensible, or what do I do?" So I was like, "Well, I probably shouldn't sink it." So I sort of took it through the sort of thick stuff, and it was amazing. And to Red, at the end of it, some of the marshals were like, "Did not expect it to do that. Was not expecting that." And I was like, you just sort of have to put it in the right sort of programs, and it sort of works quite effortlessly in a way. But we ended up sort of having the entire car covered in mud, which was pretty cool. And I returned it back to the car park at the office, and they're like, "Maybe we should leave the mud on there. It actually looks quite cool."
Design the mud, you see. Yeah,
That's all right, as long as they weren't. Yeah,
there must be a video out there somewhere of you doing that, because if that was one of the first new Defenders, someone was bound to have filmed it.
I'm sure.
I think there's a photo. I've got photos of it on my phone, which I can show you. But I think there might be a video somewhere of it going through. But it was sort of June, July time, 2021, because you couldn't do much because of COVID the year before. But I'll try and see if I can find the photo. But it was properly caked in mud, and I was sort of worried that I'd be reprimanded for damaging this brand new car without it actually sort of seeing any proper use.
I seem to remember Patrick saying that he took a pretty much delivery mileage press new Defender.
Yeah, we had one there. We were at the show, well, we've been there for every year pretty much, and we had a press 90 there.
Yeah, and it made it through.
I can't remember him taking it to the mud hole.
Really?
The mud run, no.
I thought someone told me they went through with it.
He may have done.
I forget.
He may have done. It's the sort of Pat would have done.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's the
that
photo
is
there,
excellent. The little 90 hardtops, that specification, they look so good. I went on the commercial launch of when the commercial new Defender first came out, and the 110s and the 90s in the body color with white roof and white steels at the time, they look really, really good.
Yeah. I think Steelies are such a cool little aesthetic. I don't know who these days you can order a car from factory and get steel wheels on it, or certainly steel look wheels. But they do look really, really cool.
They still do the steel wheel option.
I'm not sure you can get it anymore. I think they stopped doing it for some reason, maybe lack of demand, but they really did suit it well.
So they did cancel. I remember them when their demand was outstripping supply, they were cancelling all the lower optioned cars and then just concentrating on the more luxury end.
Yeah.
Whether they've continued that, I'm not so sure.
But there's a lot of them, a lot of those sets of wheels, you can get them for not much money if you did want to fit them. Because a lot of the tuning companies bought the base spec Defenders and then put their own alloys and stuff like that on. So there's a lot of them about with like brand new tyres on. So something to be aware of. And they also fit other cars like Range Rover Sport and Discovery 4 as well, which is quite good fun. You can mix and match. But yeah.
The collecting cars alone, that 90.
Yeah, it's still going to this day. It's on 40,000-50,000 miles. So no, it's a good little a good little workhorse.
Good stuff. Yeah. So what's this year? What does this year hold for you then, James? What's on the calendar? What's coming up?
Yeah, I think the common question I always get asked is sort of when are the next events? What's the ones coming up? And I like to do sort of 3 core events throughout the year, and it sort of focuses on the sort of the spring event, so sort of April time, sort of just like a sort of cars and coffee kind of setup in London. Then the summer mile drive is always a very popular one, which we do, and again that's a sort of a unique one where people weirdly love just coming into London just to drive their car, and we sort of meet in Belgrave Square, and then we sort of do a nice convoy through London, and then we just go down the Mall and spread out across the entirety of it, and it becomes a really good photo op for a lot of people, and that's quite fun. They're just sort of seeing everyone's reactions as people sort of walking past, going, oh, wow, this is so cool, and sort of seeing loads of just about sort of 80 to 100 Land Rovers just driving down the Mall, sort of six across as well. So that's always a good one. And then afterwards we just go to the pub and chat, and it's just a nice sort of summer's evening just to do something fun like that. And then obviously the Christmas one is always the big event for the year. So yeah, but in between that there's always scope for doing more, and very much in the pipeline at the moment in terms of what I hope to do. Because last year we did events at Dunsfold, which was really cool. Did an event at Goodwood, driving around the circuit, which was such a cool experience for a lot of people, because you don't see Land Rovers driving around a circuit often, to be honest. So that was a really cool event we did in November as well. So yeah, if we can do sort of much of the same this year, then we'll definitely try and do that. But getting more and more requests.
Excellent stuff. You must come to the big Land Rover Fest in July. We would love to have you there. It's going to be unlike any other Land Rover show ever, really. So you got to come along. Is going to be a cracking weekend.
Absolutely,
we'd love to have you. Yeah, we're going to have a special little area actually for guys, and girls into like the media side of things. So yeah, we'll make space for you if you're up for it.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely get the Land Rovers of London community to come along.
Excellent stuff.
Certainly, if they like music, they'll
oh yeah,
something
cracking lineup.
Plus, we built an off-road course. You should bring the collecting cars 90 along.
Yeah. Put that to the test again.
No, I'll certainly we'll try and come along to that. I haven't taken my car off road for a few months, so perhaps it's long overdue. Annoyingly, the low range gearbox has decided to sort of not play ball, so that's something that's on the list of things to get fixed this year. Annoyingly,
there's always something to do, isn't there?
I've developed a new clonk in mind on the way to work, pretty much. So there's always something.
Yeah, they like to keep us on our toes, don't they? That's for sure. But
yeah, exactly.
Finding the right parts for your Land Rover or Range Rover shouldn't be an off-road challenge. At bnh4x4.com, we've built a smarter way to get you back on track. Our new website is now live. The simple, fast and reliable way to find the parts and accessories you need. Supplying quality parts for Defender 1983 to 2016, Discovery 1, 2, 3 and 4, Range Rover Sport 2005 to 2013 with Range Rover P38A and L322 coming soon. All parts are backed by expert knowledge, quick delivery and a 2-year quality guarantee. Visit bmh4x4.com, built by enthusiasts for enthusiasts.
I was only thinking yesterday because 2016, and I keep seeing this trend online of people sort of taking photos of 10 years ago in 2016, and because we sold the last Heritage production 90 a few months ago, I was thinking it's nearly 10 years since the last Defender rolled off the production line. So it's kind of amazing how quickly that time has gone as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what other sort of production cars Land Rover have got up their sleeve. I know there's that sort of talk of a car which will perhaps sort of sit between a Velar or a Defender. I sort of keep seeing sort of teased images online of those. So I don't know if you've seen any of those. You might think in the press you might see more of it than I do.
I don't think I've seen more of it than you have, but I've certainly heard that the rumours of a so-called baby Defender or even Freelander being used by the Chinese firm Chery, being licensed to producing this small 4x4 fully electric. But again, everything, I'm one of those people, unless it's staring me in the face or I've heard about it from JLR, then it's all kind of up in the air and I try not to speculate too much on it. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see what JLR come up with next. I think they've got a big job on their hands to top what they're already offering. To be honest, it's difficult.
Yeah, but it's a question of who's going to design them now. I guess we don't know who's going to.
It's all gone quiet though, hasn't it? We haven't heard anything since.
I was going to ask you about him if you'd heard anything. Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
There was a big sort of a big storm around it, and then suddenly it's all gone a bit quiet. So yeah, not sure who's going to take up the reins of designing now.
Time will tell. I think we'll have to wait and see. He might well still be there. We don't know, do we? No. He might be going back. It might be, yeah. Like I say, until I don't even know if they will release put out to press about what actually went on and what's happening in the future. But yeah, again, Jerry McGovern, he was creative director. He I suppose, especially in later years, probably wasn't quite as hands-on with regards to actually designing the vehicles as he was overseeing the team that did. But unless you're a fly on the wall there, it's really, really difficult to say. But yeah, it's exciting and interesting times ahead, that's for sure. As well as Jaguar, of course, that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know they're doing some winter testing at the moment, or just some winter sort of production stuff in somewhere in the Arctic Circle with the Jag at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure if the performance backs up the radical looks of what they've come up with, it'll be quite a thing, I'm sure.
It reminds me ever so slightly of have you seen the film League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Yes.
The what is it called, the Nimbus or the
yeah, I know what you mean.
Which Captain, I forget his name. With that kind of car. It's like it kind of looks a bit like that from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That was what I thought when it first came out. But it's a grower, I guess. It's so you warm to it.
Yeah, we'll be sitting here we might not be sitting here in 20 years from now doing the LRM podcast, but it's like you were saying about P38s and L322s, they never meant anything to you, but they grow on you, don't they? And then something becomes that timeless classic design. You start to you age with it as well, don't you? The cars that we don't look at today, you'll be looking at in 20 years going, I remember when they came out, you'd be more inclined to like them.
Yeah, you always think that the newest thing is going to be better than the old as well. It's a bit like 996 Porsches with 911s, and how everyone sort of thought they were the ugly duckling of that's for the generation.
Headlights.
And yeah, and now they've had a bit more of a resurgence, and I think that's sort of similar to the L322s now, which I think they're very, very cool. But prices on those have gone silly. I think there was one which went over 100 grand. I might be wrong. Last
What was
year,
that on? Sorry, James. The
L322.
yes, no, I think crazy prices. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was ex-Royal, and the guy who sold it didn't realize it was ex-Royal,
Wow.
and then sold it to someone in the trade who found out that it was ex-royalty. Put it to auction, and it sold for silly money. So I'm guessing the previous owner might be kicking themselves ever so slightly, but they didn't realize of its history.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that must be a bitter pill to swallow. But yeah, all goes to show, doesn't it? It's worth doing a bit of research and finding out as much as you can about your current vehicle, really. I mean, yours has got royal connections, hasn't it?
Yeah, mine was on the Balmoral estate, which was one of their estate cars. So basically, Coniston green, white roof, 90 hard top, totally standard steel wheels, and that was a similar thing. I bought that from a guy near Ross-on-Wye, and he was exactly the kind of guy you'd want to buy a car from. There's the file with all the paperwork, and it was just sitting there in this beautiful small holding, and in an idyllic setting. You think, I'm buying this vehicle whether it's rotten or not. I'm having it, because you just knew. And it's never, well, apart from one little thing, it let me down once, but it's been absolutely perfect in 4 or 5 years, and I think that's it. The key to buying a good car is buy it from a good owner.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's a lot.
There's a lot to be said for it.
Yeah. You sort of, my dad always used to say, you buy from people you like, and I think that's a key sort of principle. Yeah, the car is just as important as the person you're buying it from, and if it's been well maintained, then you feel a bit more confident.
Great advice. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
but I think we'll probably, unless you've got anything else to add, James, we'll probably we'll bring this one in if you're happy with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The only thing I was going to say is you need to get in the Land Rovers of London WhatsApp chat as well, because that's sort of on a daily basis. You might be well positioned to help with people's questions and queries. We've got so many guys in there in that group, which that they know so much about cars, and it's so great to see that not only just sort of sharing a passion, it's just sort of sharing advice and things like that, but it's a nice little community. So yeah, you must get involved in that, and it's sort of, you might need to mute it every now and then, because it does pop off quite a lot.
That's not a problem. I'm well versed in the muting of WhatsApp groups, I'm afraid to say, but no, that sounds really cool. I'd love to be a part of that.
He never replies to my messages, so that's a lie. He does, to be fair.
Well, James, thank you ever so much for coming on the LRM podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Just as a final reminder, where can people follow what you're up to, and your events and your goings on around the capital?
Yeah, so obviously there's the WhatsApp group, which you can find a link to on the Instagram page, which is at Land Rovers of London, and then there's our website as well, which I tend to share all the sort of sign up links for events and things like that. So that's just landroversoflondon.com, and then you also find our range of merchandise, t-shirts and hoodies, which have been really, really well received. So yeah, best places are our Instagram, website, and the WhatsApp group.
Great stuff. Well, as always, drop us a follow on Instagram as well. I'm Land Rover Martin. You're
Steve Miller Automotive.
Follow Land Rover Monthly on Instagram and Facebook, and do subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we're going to be putting all about how we're building up ready for the big Land Rover Fest in July, as well as tons of other great technical content, and you generally keep up to what we're up to on our adventures, really. So, and of course, buy the magazine. The February issue is on sale right now, packed with great Land Rover content from beginning to end. So go out, grab that, or sign up and subscribe and save yourself a bit of money. But yeah,
that's it.
I think that's pretty much it.
That's it.
Thank you ever so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye for now.
Cheers.